school board. If you recall, that's when all the school construction money was coming down and people thought people were going to make a lot of money with education construction. It was the first time that I really realized we needed an audit. Now, I don't talk about it much, but I used to be a math teacher. And I also am very interested in our children growing up to be able to be doctors, scientists, and all the other things we need diversity in. And I thought we weren't giving our children the foundation they needed to go into these fields. Now, when they closed the hospital, I had to switch gears because it didn't matter who was going to be a doctor because we weren't going to have too many here. And what I plan to do if I become mayor is to find out what the law is involving audits. I believe you can't audit a municipality unless the city council approves it. Now, I'm just telling you, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn.
Thank you. As mayor, and if you vote me in on November 3rd to continue to be your mayor, I will continue to do the things that we have been doing in terms of review where necessary. In 2006, when I came into office, there was no transition between the former administration, the former mayor and his council, and my administration and council. What we discovered early on in 2006, that there was a $41,000 deposit through the tax collector's office, that there were, all the checks were there, but there were a couple of $1,000s in cash that was missing. That's because of the policies and restraints that had been put in place by the previous administration. And I will also add that the previous administration had hired a tax collector who wasn't bondable, so that was an issue as well. My administration came into play in 2006. We discovered this and we took care of it. We even launched an investigation through our police division, and it was said because of the policies that were put in place at that time that there was no way to prove who had done what, so we initiated much better policies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question. We have too much concentration of social ills for renting services, mental illness services, all in our town. What will you do to ensure that surrounding towns share in these problems? Plainfield can't take them all. And I will start with Ms. Dow.
Well, I'm the one that said that the state policies placed every type of group home imaginable in Plainfield and then took away the only hospital that was skilled at treating vulnerable populations. And they laid these people who come from all over the state in Plainfield at the Park Hotel, at group homes, in your neighborhood, in my neighborhood, with no services now. And things have deteriorated to the point that people actually sleep on the benches, sleep in the street, lay down in your driveway. What's going to happen when it gets cold outside? I believe that the state is responsible for a lot of policies that hurt us. The state took away the train stop on the Raritan Valley line in Elizabeth, and then decided that 1,000 women in Plainfield could give birth in Elizabeth and didn't need a train stop so they could go visit the newborn babies or visit relatives or whatever. I really believe that part of being our government is we have to hold other levels accountable. We have to hold the county and the federal government accountable to our needs.
Mr. Pavlinsky.
Well, I think Plainfielders are great people. And I really love living in this city. And I really love everybody I've met as I've gone around the city. And I think that one thing that characterizes Plainfielders is that they have big hearts. And so if we have to bear the burden in Plainfield of helping people who need help, then so be it. We should do it. If the other surrounding communities are not interested in doing that, they show what kind of people live there. And I think that Plainfield should not cast off people who are in need. It is a burden on the community, but it is something that makes this community great.
Thank you. Ms. Dow.
Nope, Mayor.
That was great.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all I would say that although the city of Plainfield is a very loving, diverse community, we have let the state of New Jersey as well as the counties know that we will accept our fair share and take care of our own, but we want other municipalities to take care of their own as well. It's an equal responsibility of all of the municipalities. Now, having said that, there are two areas where we do feel that we have to address, and we have been addressing it. One is with regard to our Dudley House, a wonderful facility that addresses rehabilitative needs for folks. The council has decided not to put any money, any funding into that project from this point on. So what we've done, this community, the city of Plainfield, as well as with the help of Assemblyman Green, we have been interviewing and looking for an entity that would take over the management so the Dudley House can still exist. We were up in North Jersey today, and I believe that there is such a company, an organization that can take care of the Dudley House and make those services available to those who need it. As well as we have a reentry task force to address those who have paid their debt and want to come back home to be productive residents and good neighbors. We have to make way for them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, next question. How would you change the PMUA to better serve the people? It seems as if we are paying for the same services twice through both PMUA and high taxes. And I'll begin with this.
Well, it may seem that we're paying double for the PMUA because their rates are so high, but it's not actually true. The PMUA, unfortunately, the present administration, unfortunately, is not acting in the taxpayers' best interest in terms of controlling costs. Neither is the PMUA, as we've heard over and over again in community forums. As mayor, the PMUA is an autonomous body run by a board of commissioners. The commissioners are appointed by the mayor. That's the full extent of their accountability. As mayor, I would appoint capable individuals to be commissioners who are committed to running the PMUA in the most economical and effective way possible. I believe one person comes up each year. In 3 years, I could have the majority of these people on the board.
Thank you. Mayor Robinson.
Yes, with regard to, first let me talk for a second about our taxes. Yes, taxes across the state of New Jersey as well as in the country, taxes are high. We are doing what we can to bring in development into the city of Plainfield to have a positive effect on our tax base and to have some rateables. With regard to, and also with regard to taxes, another thing that we're doing to lower our taxes and to try and stabilize them is that we're not filling vacant employment positions. We are asking our employee unions to take a zero increase across the board for the next fiscal year. So we are doing things to address our tax problem. With regard to PMUA, we did realize that PMUA had some situations with regard to their budget, meaning that everyone some months ago spoke about traveling expenses and things of that nature. We have been meeting with PMUA leadership, and we did come to an agreement that PMUA will adopt the same policies that the city of Plainfield has with regard to travel and other type expenses to limit those expenses that they have and to limit the cost to taxpaying residents. Thank you.
I believe in shared services, but as many of you may have heard me say, nobody wants to share with you if what you have isn't as attractive as what they have or what you have costs more. So we're going to have to start our shared services here in town. We've got a really nice staff of some really capable people working at PMUA. We've got a whole lot of people working in the school system, and then we've got a lot of people working for the city. I'm not talking about firing people. I'm talking about maybe we need to do a human resources audit. Maybe some of these people could even suggest a job they would rather have than the one they're locked into. A lot of people are making big changes at this time in life. They've learned something about themselves during this economic downturn. And maybe they want to teach for the first time, or maybe they want to do something else. Maybe if we could make it so people keep their health insurance, they could have a little more flexibility. We need to share services within city agencies at first.
Thank you. There's still some questions about Molenberg Hospital. As mayor, directed to the mayor, you have a seat on the Molenberg Hospital board. How will you, or how have you, used your participation in that board to get Molenberg reopened?
That's an ex officio position with regard to the board. And as a matter of fact, I don't think any of the mayors did go and participate on that level. We have representatives throughout the state that attend those meetings and bring back information. And as a matter of fact, with regard to Muhlenberg, as soon as my administration learned, as well as Assemblyman Green, we learned that Muhlenberg was in a financial crisis. We then went to Trenton to ask the governor for funding, additional funding for the hospital, because at that time the hospital was saying that they had a deficit of about $17 million. And we went there, we did get some money, we got about $4.5 million that was advanced. Unfortunately, as you can tell, that was just a Band-Aid. It wasn't going to be enough to keep Muhlenberg going. But we did everything necessary to try and work with those who were in leadership at Muhlenberg, meaning Solaris. Solaris had they had no plan to keep the hospital open, and it became painfully obvious that that plan to close Muhlenberg Hospital started several years ago. It wasn't just something that started last year. It was something that started years ago when they began to remove various money-making services, and also when they began to not accept people anymore who didn't have proper insurance to be treated at the hospital. Thank you.
It's almost hard for me to answer this question. Let me tell you a few things I've done to try to save Muhlenberg. I filed a federal complaint against the state of New Jersey with the Office of the Inspector General of Health and Human Services. My complaint is that New Jersey has demonstrated strategic negligence in creating disproportionately negative health outcomes for minorities. I filed complaints in Washington with the Justice Department. I have sent certified mail to the President, to Attorney General Holder, to Secretary Sebelius. I have contacted the woman who is in charge of all nonprofits, state, federal, local, and requested that she immediately vacate the nonprofit status of the Solaris Corporation, audit all divisions of the corporation, all parties, all board members, and anybody who even gave them money. Thank you.
In light of the fact that the mayor and her political associate, Assemblyman Jerry Green, have, although as they claim been working hard on this, they have accomplished nothing, what I would do as mayor is I would immediately telephone a lady at the other end of this table and her associates who are so very knowledgeable about this, much more than I am, and I would work with them constructively to bring back some type of acute care facility on the Muhlenberg campus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Music and arts funding and education has been significantly affected in our country over the last few years. As mayor, what is your plan to correct this problem locally?
Well, you know what? There are a lot of areas different areas that need funding. And there are very creative ways that we can get funding. Of course, there are grants that's available. There's private entity that can give funding for music and for the arts. And I know that the symphony is going well here in the city of Plainfield. We just celebrated our 90th anniversary, so they must be funded properly. And I can tell you something else that's being done. You may think of it on a very simplistic level, but many of you have heard of an initiative through Parks and Recreation called Music in the Plaza. Now, some may think that that's just a fun time, but it really isn't. The reason why that initiative was put together was to draw people together to have free lunchtime concerts. All types of music was celebrated there, and it was very widely publicized and well attended. But the real key was that initiative was put together to support the local businesses in the area of that plaza. And it worked very well. As a matter of fact, we received letters from businesses thanking us and asking for us to please make sure that we do that again this summer and as an annual event. So my hat's off to Parks and Recreation. That was a wonderful initiative. But we do support the arts, and anytime that there is a way to bring about funding to the city of Plainfield for any venue that's positive, we're going to do it. And we have done it. Thank you.
And then would you like to respond?
Well, I first want to point out that the Plainfield Symphony is not out of the woods yet, and it has been doing very well on a completely volunteer basis. I am on the board of directors of another organization in town, Crescent Concerts, which also presents 8 concerts at Crescent Avenue Church each year. And I have written grants, proposals. We've gotten funding from the Union County Office of Cultural and Heritage Affairs. We have gotten no funding from the city. I think, and no assistance from the city. I think it is very important that the city work with these organizations as much as possible. There's not a lot of money around, and these programs are expensive. I would also differ with the mayor on the success of the concerts in the plaza. I attended both of them. The attendance was very poor in my estimation, maybe 50 people at each. They were not properly publicized outside the borders, and that may be one reason for this failure.
Thank you.
Once upon a time, long, long ago, I was an artist. And some of you might even remember I had a rock band, and I played the electric bass. But back then it wasn't so unusual, because when we had talent shows in Plainfield, at the high school, they'd go on past midnight. And we were proud to be from the home of Parliament Funkadelic. And we proudly played the funk, every one of us that was capable. I really think that we should regain our heritage. We have an internationally recognized brand that we are not exploiting, and that is P-Funk, and the P is for Plainfield. We have living legends. Some of them are quite uniquely looking persons. I would love to see if somebody would give us the money for a statue of a couple of these folks. We could put them in Library Park, and I think it'd be a tourist destination. I would love to see how they interpret George Clinton's dreadlocks and metal. So I think we should really just embrace who we are as artists. Plainfield is full of artists today, just as it was when we recognized it more. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one more question, and that is that why no blacks or Hispanics or women on work crews on contracts from the city? And we can start with the mayor.
I don't know that to be true. I truly don't know that to be true. I will investigate that, because I'll tell you that we celebrate diversity. We follow along with the EEOC rules and regulations. So I don't know that to be true. So I disagree with that question, with that statement.
Anyone else want to respond at all? No.
When I was going around this summer trying to find people who wanted to come manufacture basically vitamins and alternative medicine cures, I was in Arizona, in Sedona, and it just kept looking strange to me because they're doing all this construction, and there's all these women. I don't think I've ever seen that many women in hard hats covered with mud and dirt and driving heavy equipment and everything. So I don't know what we're doing here, but we're not doing as much as some other locations are doing. And I just want to say, I don't know what the situation is, but this is one of the things we need transparency for. so we can figure out who does get these jobs. Do any of them even come from Plainfield? Do any of our people benefit from these projects? So we have more questions than we have answers. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't done an exhaustive survey, but from just a casual viewing of the work crews that are doing work around Plainfield on the streets, it appears that yes, maybe our population is underrepresented in terms of African Americans, Hispanics. So it appears that the work is going outside of Plainfield. This is the real problem. The organizations that we contract with are not committed to hiring Plainfield workers to do the work. And we need to change this. Plainfield has a particularly high rate of unemployment. Getting folks to work is very important, and getting folks to work will perhaps impact our crime situation, which still needs a lot of correction.
Thank you. Now we're going to begin our closing statements. We still have a lot more questions, but we thank you for those that we were able to get to. Mr. Benucci, we're going to start.
Well, I want to thank you once again, Madam Moderator, members of the League of Women Voters, and my fellow candidates here for showing up, and for the audience. I'm very grateful to have had this opportunity to give you my views on numerous subjects. I just want to remind you that I am indeed an independent candidate. I have once again, no political ambitions. I seek no higher office. I want to be a one-term mayor. I will serve without salary, without benefits, without a car. I just want to do my best for the city of Plainfield, and I hope that you will give me a chance to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you all again for coming out, for your interest in the city of Plainfield, and for wanting to learn information about what's actually going on in Plainfield. I want to caution you, as usual, to please disregard some things that's on some people's blogs because they have one agenda and it's not true Plainfield information. So disregard that. This administration has been really good with working with regard to safety and security, economic development and redevelopment, road improvements and street and lot, park maintenance, environmental issues. We've done things like initiated task forces, How Your City Works program, the Property House Tour, Live Where You Work program, the Reentry Task Force, the Muhlenberg Hospital Task Force, the Census 2010 Task Force. We've done things for our youth, for our senior citizens, for our veterans, as well as everyone else in between. I have to disagree with Mr. Pivnichny in terms of a one-term, because that means that serving a one-term is a problem statement. That means that he wants Plainfield to start over every 4 years, and that will certainly throw us backwards, and we don't need that. Now, I will tell you, I think these two individuals on my sides, they're wonderful, they're great individuals, but they've been residents in the city of Plainfield for several years. Yet they're offering suggestions tonight and in other forums, but I know that they don't have any record of community service, and I think that that's probably where they should begin. There should be some advocacy in the city of Plainfield. Start in another way. We have commissions that need great people to come and work, and I think if there are a lot of people who have the skill level to do certain things in the city of Plainfield, that's where you begin. Because as you have heard from others, thank you very much. We're more than a one-issue city. Thank you.
This format is constricting. I would like to invite every one of you to come to the Ducre School of Arts Monday at 6:30, when I can speak without time limits, and when my accountant and my other people will be present to take questions, and we will explain to you the truth about what happened to Muhlenberg Hospital. I'm here, I'm being polite, I'm trying to be cordial, but I didn't appreciate that last statement. I have served this community, started when I was 11 years old, and started the Voice newspaper as a child, a paper that published for 9 years. I sat on several city commissions from the age of 14 until I left to go to college at 16. And there I won the Blumberg Prize in Philosophy because I had figured out how people think. I didn't need a course for anybody to tell me. I really resent anybody implying that I have not done community service in this town. If you see a praying mantis on your window, it's probably because I brought its ancestor here. I am a person who tries to figure out things that you can do that people can't block, that people can't sabotage, that people can't undermine, because that's the kind of waters that we swim in here in Plainfield. And I'm willing to swim with the sharks every day. And if you come up to me afterwards, I will give you one of the letters I got from a gubernatorial candidate in support of investigating Muhlenberg, and the word is criminal. Thank you.
We would like to thank the candidates and the audience for a very lively candidates night forum for both. And I'd like to thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here with you. I will now turn it over to the audience. I want to thank again the candidates, all the candidates who came and spoke tonight. Thank you very much for answering questions that were important to the residents and citizens here and voters here. Thank you to Louise Ballard for moderating our forum and for her guidance. I want to thank all the league volunteers, Annie, Alice, Rupert, Pat, Herb, Jan, etc., Ronnie for helping us put this thing together. Thank Emerson School and the staff, and thank you all again. I want to remind you to vote Tuesday. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I just want to remind you that there is a public question regarding open space to be voted on. So it is important that when you look at your ballot, when you go into the voting, that you remember to answer the public question. If you choose to, at least read it. There is an interpretation of it as well. And thank everybody again. Amen.
Okay, at this moment, this is the American Reverend Zachariah A. Jackson. We're finishing up at this moment, and it's all over, as you see. And of course, everybody knows that this right here will be uploaded to YouTube and Facebook and all other places. So I can only do what I can do. I invited all the candidates tomorrow to my show at Town Talker Talk Show, Harvest Radio at 4 o'clock. I can't make them come. I can only invite them. And God be with you. Again, this is the American Reverend Zachariah A. Jackson from the Church of What's Happening Now. Town Talker Talk Show, Harvest Radio, 1070 AM. Enjoyharvest.com. Facebook, Zachariah Jackson. YouTube, Reverend Zachariah. Or Reverend Zach, Reverend Zachariah Jackson. And the videos will come up. So we're going to try to get this on this weekend, because again, it's going to be very hard, hectic next week, and we're going to try to cover that also. Cover the November 3rd, I believe it is, Tuesday, this next Tuesday coming. So God be with you. Again, the American Reverend Zachariah A. Jackson from the Church of What's Happening Now. Good night.